Hey everyone, this is Deanna from Anajet. You may remember me from the previous TAS enhancement trainings. Today we're going to go over basically your training day for when you go visit your customer on site. If you don't recall, in the presentation TAS PowerPoint, it has your description of your training day that we're going to follow. So just remember, this is made for about 4 hours, but if your training ends up to be between 4 to 6 hours, that's okay. You may have to accommodate the timing depending on your customer, whether or not they need more time on, let's say, maintenance, or if they need more time on RIP settings, that's okay. Just remember that whatever you learned in training, you do have to try to condense it in this time frame, and this is probably the best way that you're going to be able to do it. So today we're going to go one by one to remind you of what you have to learn. I'm not going to go through every single step that we did do in training. It's basically to jumpstart your memory to help you remember what key things you do have to train your customer when you see them on site. Okay, so we're going to start off with your initial appointment call. When you call your customer after they had made an appointment for you guys to come do the startup fill and for the training, these are some key things you need to remember to ask of your customer. You want to make sure that the heat press and tables are already set up on a sturdy table, at least 5 feet away from each other. When you arrive on your call, you should not be lifting anything. That's not your job. That's the customer's job. So make sure that they have it leveled on the table for the printer, and then a heat press at least 5 to 10 feet away. Please remind your customer that it is your job to do the startup fill and training, so please do not power up your printer and put ink in it before you get there. That's very important. That's your job when you get there. Make sure that the heat press is going to be on its own outlet. It has to have at least 15 to 20 amps. We do recommend 20 amps just in case there is some fluctuations in the currency. And we do suggest the customer, when they receive their printer, there should be a piece of paper telling them that they should go to the Anajet website and download AnaRip prior to your visit. If they don't, it's no big deal, but you can recommend it to them. Another big thing you need to make sure that they know is that they have to have a humidifier and a hygrometer, preferably before you arrive, because as we beat it into your head, a humidifier is very important to run this machine, so it's better off that they have it before you arrive. One last thing that you do want to remind your customers that they should bring their own blanks too, the ones that they plan to practice with, they plan to print with. You want to be able to show them what's good and bad in the types of garments you print on, so do suggest for them to purchase some blanks before you arrive to your appointment. So now we're going to talk about what to do when you first arrive to the customer site. The first main thing we want you to do is to go ahead and check out the printer's environment. Check to see to make sure that it's pretty much enclosed. If it's not, we do recommend, as I mentioned before in past trainings, that you get a do-it-yourself kind of greenhouse kit where you can actually put the printer inside of it so they can work out of it. The main thing why we need that is because to keep up the humidity. Humidity, we want a minimum of 45%. If they're in a larger type room, it's really hard to control the humidity there. So that's why we would prefer if they had it more of an enclosed area. If they don't have it right away, that's fine. We can just recommend it for future use. Also want to check to see if the air and heating vents are closed around the printer. So if they had a vent right up here and open, try to close the slides up if they can. Cover it, whatever you can do. So you don't want a lot of open air flow going towards the printer. It could cause the print heads to start clogging up or just to dry out. So you have a lot harder time to get a good nozzle check. Also make sure again to make sure that they actually did put the printer at least 5 to 10 feet away from the heat press. If it's not, you can help try to move it, but again, we prefer that you guys actually don't move anything, have somebody within their company move the stuff for you. Okay, so now the heat press, once you get onto a table, we'll actually need to probably change some of the settings on it. When it first arrives, it's not going to be in the correct pressure that you need it to be. So I'm going to have Lewis here help me out with this. Everybody say hi to Lewis. Hey! Okay, so what I'm going to have Lewis do first, plug in the heat press. Will be into at least a 20 gauge outlet or extension cord to help accommodate the amperage. So with the heat press still off, he's going to double check to see how light it is. It's not going to fully clamp, but this actually feels really light. So once you turn on the heat press, it's going to engage the magnet onto it. So try closing it again, Louis. Does it feel really light when you close it?
A little tougher. Sure.
It's really too easy, right? So that's when you know it's not at the correct pressure temp. It's not even reading anything here. Sometimes at the bottom, it's going to have a digital pressure thing that'll go all the way up. So what he's going to do is, this is where you're going to be able to change the settings on your heat press. So if he goes clockwise, it's going to go up, so that's going to be less pressure. So he's going to want to go counterclockwise. He's going to go down basically until he sees right here about the blue part here touch the prongs right here. So he's going to go counterclockwise. As you can see, the plate is now slightly going down. He's going to keep going. Just remember not to go all the way down, because after it hits a certain point, this whole plate will fall down. So there's nothing actually that catches it. So we're going to try to test it now. So try go ahead and push it all the way down again. How does that feel?
There you go. Not tougher.
So now he had higher pressure. The digital reading now going up to 5. If you have it between 5 and 7, that's appropriate pressure for the heat press, okay? Also, you're going to have to also set to make sure the digital settings are correct. So go ahead and push the temp button. Push. So right now it's set to 355. For their training, both light and dark garments can be heated at 330 degrees for 90 seconds. So that's what we're going to set it to. So he pushed the temp button, so now it's flashing. Go ahead and push the down arrow key till it hits about 335. Okay. After that, go ahead and push the temp again. That will set the temperature. Right now, the timing is at 45 seconds. We're going to go ahead, just go ahead and push the arrow key up to make it go to a minute 90. Uh-oh, overshot it. So with it open, keep the lid open and go ahead and push down. Awesome, so now you're set for light and dark garments. So remember, if the customer wanted to cure both light and dark garments with white ink, 330 degrees for 90 seconds is good. If they had a large batch of only white shirts, they can do it 356 for 40 seconds. Okay, so now your heat press is set up. Just make sure also that the table is stable as well, because once you clamp this, the table is going to move. So make sure the table has to be absolutely stable too as well.